So first of all, you got several names for this wood. American walnut, American black walnut, Eastern black walnut, walnut. Hey Woodworkers YouTube, what is going on? It's great to see you again. So my name is Mark, I'm from Woodworkers Source. We are just a friendly hardwood lumber supplier. We just supply nice hardwoods to enthusiastic woodworkers. That's what we do. You can find us online at woodworkersource.com. Plus we got 3 stores in Arizona, in Phoenix, Tempe, and Tucson. Come give us a visit. We'd love to see you. And if my job here is to help you do better woodworking by getting you informed about some of the mysteries of hardwoods and hardwood lumber, there's one that we're a little overdue on. American black walnut. Everyone loves it. It's a gorgeous wood, but we got to cover what you need to know when it comes to buying it, picking it out, working with it, and putting a great finish on it. So take a deep breath, strap in, because we got a lot to cover and a little time to do it, so let's go. The name black walnut actually comes from 2 aspects of the tree. When walnuts are harvested and processed for this nut, they leave behind a really dark, almost black residue. And then this heartwood, or that's the center of the log, is this really dark brown wood, and it's heavily contrasted by the fact that there's a really pale yellow sapwood ring on the outside of the tree. And with that said, there are several other types like the California Claro walnut, the English walnut, and then some tropical varieties like Peruvian walnut. Today we're just talking about this variety that comes from the heartlands of the USA all the way up into Canada and over to the East Coast, otherwise known as American walnut, American black walnut, Eastern black walnut, walnut. And a quick side note about the nut, even though the American black walnut does produce a nut, the ones that you buy in the grocery store are actually usually from the English walnut tree. There's a few practical reasons for that, but we are talking about the wood, so let's get back to that. To understand the wood and the characteristics that might actually mean something to you in your woodworking, like how to pick color, how to pick the grain, how to work around knots and all that stuff, it really does pay to know a few things about the tree. First of all, it's a really small percentage of walnut trees out there that can actually yield really good lumber. And this is true for all hardwood trees. It's just especially evident in walnut. So even though the tree can grow to over 100 feet tall, its canopy starts somewhat low. And the trunk develops kinks and bends, and that means the lumber is relatively short compared to other hardwoods because it's just harder to come by walnut trees that can provide really long, clear, straight logs. And what I mean is 6 foot to 10 foot lengths is pretty normal, but you get up to 14, 16, 18 feet, that's pretty unusual in this type of wood. And then we've got another problem. Walnut trees represent less than 1% of the North American hardwood forest. Less than 1%. All this affects what you can expect when you buy and work with the wood. Walnut comes with some trade-offs thanks to the way that it grows and how tight that supply is. Second, a classic characteristic of walnut lumber is its impressively diverse grain patterns, right? I mean, there's a good chance that you tapped play on this video because you admire and appreciate the beauty of walnut. You can get a lot of unique and meandering bends, swirls, stripes, and a lot of figure in this wood. That too is thanks to those low-forming branches, and where there are branches, things get really interesting in wood. That's where you get really cool figure and grain patterns. And third, we gotta talk about the color. Walnut trees offer a lot of color. In addition to that really dark brown heartwood, the tree grows with a really big yellow sapwood ring. And that means a lot of color variety. The wood can alternate from a deep chocolate brown to dark grayish hazel to a light nutty ochre color. And then that band of sapwood is just really pale yellow. Some people like it, some people don't. The production plants that process walnut lumber for sale actually do 2 things to deal with all this color variety. They'll steam the lumber, and then they'll also do good old-fashioned manual labor color sorting. So the steaming process is actually really kind of a fascinating one. They've got a chamber, and think of something about the size of maybe a 2-car garage, and they fill it up with lumber and they inject steam. The lumber, they're gonna tight stack it, and they're only gonna use freshly sawn, wet walnut. It's gotta be wet, can't be dried yet. The chamber is designed to hold all this walnut and then get injected with really hot steam at about 200 degrees or so. So there are a couple things happening in that process. First is that the heat is just causing the wood to naturally oxidize and get a little bit darker. But it's also taking all the millions of wood cells that are in there, heating those up, and it's pushing the water out. And that water gets pushed out towards the surface. And that water that's in there is actually not clear, it's kind of dark. So it comes out and sort of colors in that sapwood a little bit. And after a couple of days, the process is done. It doesn't totally blend in the sapwood. It's still noticeable, but what it does is it reduces the contrast between the brown heartwood and the sapwood. And the other thing walnut producers will do is invest in some labor to do some color sorting. And I'm specifically calling out investment in labor to just get ready to soften the blow for you that high heartwood content walnut is just going to cost more. But what they essentially do is sift through thousands of board feet of lumber to separate the really high heartwood boards from the boards with a lot of sapwood. Usually the best specification that they're willing to guarantee is a minimum of 90% heartwood on the best side and a minimum of 60% heartwood on the back side. And again, that's the minimum amount of heartwood. But the point I'm trying to make is that even in the best walnut that money can possibly buy, you're still going to have to be prepared to deal with some amount of sapwood. Hey man, I don't make the rules. I just got to live by them, and we got to deal with whatever the tree can give us. You know what I mean? But remember, with woodworking projects, only one side usually shows. A really good example is a tabletop. I mean, how often do you really look at the bottom side of a tabletop and care what it looks like, right? So your picture frames, your speaker boxes, your wall art, etc., you can just arrange the boards to make the best side show. Conversely, if you really are into that dark heartwood that's super clean, no knots, no inconsistencies, no streaks, none of that business, check out veneer. So veneer is just a really super thin slice of real wood. The economics of veneer manufacturing are such that only the finest, clearest, straightest walnut logs get consumed by veneers. But veneers offer you the clearest material with the best consistent heartwood. And if that's what's important to you, you really should consider veneer. To a hobbyist woodworker, I get that veneering might seem like a less authentic form of woodworking, or that it's a little bit like, I don't understand that, don't want to touch it. Or that it would be limiting to your design, I get that. But you'd be really surprised once you check out some projects, get acquainted with the process, and see how much money you would save by doing it. You might get turned on to veneering that way. Plus, you get access to really the best, finest material that way. But back to the solid lumber, just know that walnut can be offered in a wide variety of grade, characteristic or grain type, color spec, and even a size spec. It just depends on what your supplier has available to them. So a few years ago, I made a standing desk with a solid walnut top, and I think it's kind of a pretty good representation of what you can expect with walnut. So these are the boards I started with, and you can see that they're not exactly flawless, but they are pretty nice ones. In raw form, they measured about 21 board feet, and while the finished top came out to about 12 and a half. That's a pretty good waste factor for arranging the grain, arranging the color, working around the knots and things to come up with a top that I liked. All these characteristics in this wood have this unique special appeal that's really reflective of Mother Nature, and that's what makes this wood kind of the darling of woodworking. When it comes to working with hardwoods, walnut is just about as nice as you can get, meaning it's a nice, tough, durable wood that's great for furniture, but it's not too hard on your tools, and it's great to work with in that way. Now with that said, let me show you a couple of things that you might appreciate. Dark wood glue. Now it's not mission critical that you use it, but it really does come in handy in a number of situations, and a really good example is on this hexagon wine rack that I made. There's a little bit of glue exposed, and it wasn't quite compatible with the finish that I chose, and so the glue is just sticking out like a sore thumb. I really wish I had used the dark stuff. Now this isn't the only way to get this done. You can also use some artist tints to tint other types of glue if you've got to use a different type of adhesive for the project that you're working on. And walnut's a really cool wood for turning and shaping. Like you can carve it, so don't discount it for doing really cool abstract shapes with it. I wonder if I said that already. Ooh. Yeah, and look at that. And then end grain stuff is pretty cool with walnut always. Got interesting shapes going on. It takes curves, got funky angles. Walnut's got that really fine grain in there. It's actually a really cool wood to ebonize with dye. You get this solid black and yet this little trickling of fine grain that's sprinkled throughout. Comes in powders, comes in liquid, and it looks really cool on walnut. What was next? This, wood grain filler. We're gonna talk about wood finishing in just a sec. Wood grain filler though is something I wanna call out because it's a really cool effect on walnut when you use a really dark tinted grain filler. Pack that grain with something nearly black and it just makes the grain just pop with contrast. And maybe the last thing I wanna mention about walnut is the wood dust. It does have a pretty potent scent when you work with it. It's a pleasant scent, but it is potent. So be sure to wear your safety gear and just be aware that some people can and do have an allergic reaction to that and get into these sneezing fits. And so, protecting yourself It's always a good thing. Now, how about some finishing tips? I may as well cut to the chase and just get to my favorite one these days, which is this stuff, Watco Danish oil in a black walnut color. It's kind of dark, it's really dark, but it goes on walnut and looks like this. So this is my first recommendation when you want to get a really super dark finish on walnut, really accentuate the grain. It amplifies the dark color without hiding the grain whatsoever. Plus, it's a really simple wipe on, wipe off procedure. It even helps give the pale sapwood a little bit of color too and blend it in with the rest of the wood. After that first coat dries, it's got a really dull matte sheen. So at that point, you got a lot of choices. You can do nothing and call it good, or you can just apply a paste wax on top of it, or you can really let it dry and then come back and top coat it with another clear finish, whether it's water-based or oil-based. You can come back and do that to give it a nice hard protective coating and or a brighter sheen if that's what you want to go for, like such as gloss, semi-gloss, that kind of thing. If you just left it as is, it'd be a really dull matte sheen. If that's what you want, go for it. Okay, next on the list is this stuff, this tung oil varnish. Okay, the main takeaway that I'm trying to give you here is that oil-based finishes tend to give walnut a really nice kick in the pants on the grain, improves the contrast, gives a little bit of warmth, just makes them look a little bit better. Yeah. One of the important things I want to point out is that this is a tung oil mixed with a varnish, and yeah, a lot of people do mix up their own, or you can just buy it in a can already made. Because there's a varnish mixed in with this, you can build up multiple coats to build a nice hard film on it, and you can buff it to any sheen that you want. Now let me show you what you can do with this. First of all, you got this version. It's just 3 coats that are just wiped on, wiped off, left to dry in between each coat. And what you're left with is this gorgeous satiny finish. It's super smooth. I mean, all you gotta do is wipe this on, wipe it off. Then you can see it warmed up the color really nicely. You got this super cool chocolatey caramel color going on. Plus, you can really see the grain in this wood. It didn't obscure anything. Another way to do it, apply the finish wet, and then you take a fine grit, wet dry sandpaper, like 400 grit, 600 grit maybe, and you sand it while the finish is wet. And that helps raise up a little bit of dust. It mixes with the finish, and then it gets packed into the grain. And then that kind of gives the grain a little more contrast to it. Same kind of color, but just a little more contrast, really cool effect. On this sample, I just went one step further than just 3 coats, and I topped it off with a paste wax. There are numerous brands out there, you don't have to pick this one, but a paste wax kind of gives it a really nice feel. You can't even express to you on video what a paste wax does. You gotta feel it in order to appreciate it. And this third one's just got a variation of this one. The finish was wet sanded in, left to dry, and then instead of continuing on with that, came back and really top coated this whole thing with a gel polyurethane. Polyurethane is just a really popular finish out there. Wanted to show you that if you wanted to get this look and still use your favorite polyurethane, you can do that. Throw down one coat, let this thing do its magic on the walnut, come back, coat it with polyurethane, you're good to go. And just to compare, I made a piece with just polyurethane on walnut and then compare it to this stuff with the tung oil varnish. You get a really nice look with this one. This one doesn't look too bad, but you get a lot more contrast by using the tung oil varnish. If you're wondering about long-term durability with a tung oil varnish, if you remember that desk I mentioned earlier, this is the type of finish that I used on it. Did 8 coats, wet sanded them in, polished them up, and that's it. So that should speak volumes to how durable that finish is. It's been in service for a few years now. It's not even ready for a refinish yet. It does a great job. So yeah, I made a video about that a couple years ago, and it's getting a little long in the tooth, admittedly, but the information's still good. So if you want to check that out, there's a link down in the description below if you want step-by-step instructions on how that goes. Earlier I mentioned how a wood grain filler looks super cool on walnut. I may as well show you a couple of samples of that here too. The type of filler I'm talking about here is an oil-based paste wood filler. It's kind of thick and it's meant to be tinted with a little bit of oil stain to produce whatever color it is that you want. And that does a little bit of magic. So what happens is the grain filler gets packed into the pores of the wood and accentuates the grain and just like boosts the contrast. Looks super awesome, right? Compare that to that board that's just polyurethane, and you'd really notice a difference. There's basically 2 ways to apply this type of wood filler. First is to apply a sealer over the wood first, and then apply the paste wood filler. The other way to do it is just apply it right to the bare wood, and what you end up with 2 distinct looks by doing that. It should go without saying that after you grain fill it, you let that dry, and then you top coat that with whatever clear top coat that you like, whether that is polyurethane or lacquer, shellac, or something else. That's how that system goes. Okay, we can't forget this one. Water-based finishes, kind of a big deal these days, right? One reason is government regulation. Another is oil-based finishes come with a couple of hazards. Primarily, you got nasty fumes that you don't want to be breathing, and you got to be careful with the oily rags, and you got to dispose of those properly. Water-based finishes address those issues. And between you and me, I don't think water-based finishes look that great applied right to walnut. They don't add any warmth to it. They don't improve the natural contrast in the wood. But you might know where I'm going with this, is that you can do one coat of oil to pop the color, let that dry, then you can come back and top coat it with this. Now you might be led to believe that because this is water and that's oil that you can't apply this on top, but that's actually not true. Now if you're still concerned about it though, you can actually apply a coat of de-wax shellac after the oil but before the water-based finish. That gives you a good solid barrier that separates the two. And plus de-wax shellac is a universal sealer. This will adhere to it no problem. Boom. And that's my 2 cents on how to finish walnut. Whew, that was a lot to get through. Thank you for sticking with it. Thanks for watching. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. And of course, post your questions below. If there was something we did not hit on that you want an answer to, we'll try to see it and answer you. With that, thank you again for watching. Really appreciate it. We will see you on the next one. Thank you.